Lynn Semeta again, Mayor of Huntington Beach. So again, the city really appreciates the in-kind sponsorship from our partners that have made this session possible today. And I would be remiss to not personally express my gratitude on behalf of the entire City Council to the Huntington Beach Chamber of Commerce, the Orange County Business Council, the Small Business Development Center, and our private sector partner, Union Bank. And now it's my pleasure to introduce our facilitator today, and that is Sheik Sattaur. And I would like to tell you about Sheik, that he works for Mitsubishi UFG Financial Group, Union Bank, as an assistant vice president. Sheik has been part of the banking industry for 19 years and comes from a rich family tradition of banking spanning 3 generations. Sheik is a licensed loan originator as well as has investments licenses including Series 6, 63, and Life and Health. Sheik is the current chairman of the board of the Huntington Beach Chamber of Commerce and interim CEO. He's also a board member of Visit Huntington Beach, as well as a proud member of the Kiwanis Club of Huntington Beach. And with that, Sheik, I will turn it over to you.
Well, thank you so much. I got an introduction from Lynn Semeta, so fantastic. Thank you, Lynn. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We've got exciting information for you. I think everyone's wanting to know about payment protection plans, small business options, what can we do, and what are all those questions? So just to let you guys know, we've got a great Q&A set up. And before we begin, I want to let you know with that Q&A, use a Q&A feature that's at the bottom there, not the chat. So if you see the Q&A feature on the bottom, and you'll see that with your panel where it says chat, Q&A, make sure you use Q&A and not chat, okay? Because that's how we're going to be answering questions, and hopefully we can answer all of them as best as we can. All right, so I've got an amazing panel that I get to introduce. So I want to start it off with Sandra Felegy. Now, let me tell you about Sandra. She works for Union Bank, so she's a colleague of mine. She has a wealth of knowledge. Let's introduce you to Sandra. Sandra Felegy is a director and lending sales manager for the small business group of MUFG Union Bank. She's responsible for managing the small business relationship managers throughout the bank footprint who provide financial solutions for small business and middle market companies. She's based really close by in Ontario. She's got 20 years experience. That's more than me. And she looks younger than me too. So, oh man, all right. Services industry. She started her banking career as a teller with Wells Fargo, moving to Washington Mutual Chase in 2007 as a small business relationship manager. And then she came to Union Bank as a business development officer in 2010. In her years as a sales officer with Union Bank, she directly facilitated the needs for over 300 growing businesses throughout Southern California up to Santa Barbara with over 100 million business lending. And in 2016, she was honored as a top 100 producer. Congratulations to that. In 2017, Sandra took on her current role of lending sales manager, working with not only field-based small business relationship managers, but also building a remote team in Tempe, Arizona. That assisted the potential small business clients with her financial needs. In 2018, she was recognized again by Union Bank as a President's Club awardee. She utilizes her knowledge of the business landscape and culture of the bank to drive change, which all have everlasting impacts of her team, the bank, and most importantly, small business clients. Sandra has always had a passion for business, being that her parents were small business owners as franchisees of multiple Burger King locations. She graduated with a bachelor's degree in business administration with an emphasis on international business from California State Polytech University, Pomona. She currently lives in East Vale, California with her husband, Josh, and her 2 sons, Dominic, 6, and Gavin, 4. Thank you, Sandra, for being here. What a resume, my goodness. Natalie Rubokava. Now, if you know, she's a chief operating officer. And I want to tell you a little bit about her. I don't know if you guys know, she was at her State of the County last for Huntington Beach Chamber, so we're so glad that she came back. Let me tell you about Natalie if you don't know her. Natalie Rubokava is a Chief Operating Officer for the Orange County Business Council. In her current role, Natalie is responsible for day-to-day operations of her organization. She works closely with OCBC Board of Directors and the Orange County business community to develop strategic partnerships, increase investments in the organization, while providing maximum value to existing OCBC investors through innovative opportunities and programs. With a degree in law and comprehensive knowledge of the Orange County market, Natalie has held key advertising operations, business development, and research positions with some of Southern California's largest media companies, including Southern California News Group, where she most recently served as an associate publisher of Custom Publishing. Natalie has led successful business development strategies for the media company's print and digital publications. She serves as Vice President of Sales Operations and executed innovative solutions for marketing and advertising and developed creative sales opportunities. In 2018, she was appointed by Governor Brown to the Orange County Fair Board of Directors and also volunteers her time to nonprofit community groups by serving on the boards of 1OC, Concordia University, Irvine's Hispanic Leadership Advisory Board, Chrysalis, Orange County Advisory Council, and has served on the City of Anaheim's Community Services Boards as well. My goodness, Natalie. Natalie has earned her Bachelor's of Arts degree in Political Science from California State University, Fullerton, and earned a Juris Doctorate degree from the University of Laverne College of Law. Welcome, Natalie. All right. And we also have a little bit of changes here. We do have Craig that's joining us, and we're so fortunate to actually have two representatives from SBDC. We've got Craig Rossum, who's here with us. So Craig is going to be filling in a little bit. Mike's going to be joining us a little bit later, but want to introduce Craig. Thank you so much for coming. So Craig received his Bachelor's of Arts in Mathematics and a Bachelor of Science in Aeronautics from Miami University in Oxford, Ohio. His first business venture was in specialty sports in Vail, Colorado. He, along with two partners, grew the company from 1 to 3 locations that exited in 2006. Moving from the mountains to the beach, Craig focused his love of numbers and business to start a new company which focuses primarily on all aspects of bookkeeping, budgeting, forecasting, financial analysis, and project management for small business. Craig has a Series 7 and 66 Wealth Management Advisor for UBS Financial and holds California DRE Brokers license since 2006. Craig is also the lead business consultant for SBDC Center at Cal State Fullerton and the voice behind the Daily Ask webinar discussing the PPP and EIDL programs. So Craig brings about 23 plus years of strategic financial planning, cash projections, project management, QuickBooks, P&L, balance sheet analysis, debt financing, and lending experience to the table. Wow, Craig, we're so excited to have you here. And also want to introduce, and who will be joining us a little bit later, is Mike Daniel. Now, Mike is the regional director of the Orange County Network, which assists aspiring entrepreneurs and current business owners throughout Orange, San Bernardino, and Riverside County. Orange County Inland Empire SBDC consists of 8 service centers and assists small businesses in Orange, Riverside, and San Bernardino counties. As business owner, Mike himself has started his career as the owner of a Rocky Mountain chocolate factory location in Manhattan Beach and has since gone on to open additional locations throughout the country. Mike is also the owner of Sugar Daddy's Sweet Shop in Long Beach, which is based on fill it yourself candy options. Mike is a graduate of California State University, Fullerton, and resides in Huntington Beach. He has been married for almost 20 years and has 2 children that he's grooming to take over his business so he can retire. Well, I can surely say that Mike's got a sweet tooth, right, Craig? Awesome. All right, so that is everyone. And just to remind everyone again, we will be doing the Q&A session after the panel. And again, don't use that chat feature. Make sure you use that Q&A feature that's right next to the chat feature, okay? So, good morning, everyone. How's everyone doing today?
Morning.
Great.
Well.
All right, so we're ready to get down to business and ask these questions that I think have been on everyone's mind. So first, and I know I did a wonderful job of telling your fantastic backgrounds that you guys all have, but could you give us a little bit, get an overview, we'll start one by one, of your respective organizations and how they assist businesses. Sandra, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, so Union Bank obviously is a financial institution, and we are here to support businesses with obviously all of their banking needs, from deposits to lending to payment processing services, and even payroll. So we are here to support businesses of all sizes, small to medium to large. And really, we want to ensure that we are not only assisting you with just your normal day-to-day banking needs, but obviously also here to provide you with advice and guidance as the marketplace changes. And as we know, in the last couple months, this marketplace has changed significantly. So utilize us as a resource. We have a plethora of information to give, and we are more than happy to share.
Fantastic. Thank you, Sandra. Natalie.
So the Orange County Business Council, also known as OCBC, is a nonprofit that advocates on behalf of business in Orange County and the region at large. With 34 cities in Orange County, it really does fall onto Orange County Business Council to work very closely with all of the municipalities. We also work closely with all of our Chamber of Commerces to make sure that business gets the resources they need. OCBC focuses on 4 core initiatives, which include workforce development, making sure that our workforce is prepared for the future. And with this recent disruption, we might be looking towards how to reskill some of the workers who will no longer be able to conduct some of the jobs that are currently a staple in our community, including hospitality and tourism. That's a major part of our economy. Economic development is also an area of focus, and right now that's going to be one of the most important areas with our county focused on how to restart the economy and make sure that we're retaining business in this area. We work very closely with our elected officials as well as government agencies, because in order to get the things that we need done in Orange County, we have to make sure that we're all communicating, rowing in the same direction, and working on behalf of business in this region. But those are the areas that we focus on. We have done a significant amount of advocacy in this area, making sure that we have the resources that we need. Our CEO, Lucy Dunn, has been part of the county's task force to reopen the county and has been a significant help with developing guidelines and making sure that our businesses are aware of what we need to do to reopen the county.
Fantastic. Thank you, Natalie. And Craig?
Good morning, everyone. Yes, the SBDC offers no-cost business consultation to business owners or even entrepreneurs or folks who think they want to be in business and want to understand what their options are. We're funded by the SBA, state and local federal tax dollars, and in our sense with our center by Cal State Fullerton and their nonprofit organization. So we have over 100 business consultants that are available in all kinds of backgrounds. So we have a restaurant group. We have my team, which is on the debt financing and cash flow analysis side. We have a marketing team. We have folks that can help you with your e-commerce. So if you're transitioning from maybe brick and mortar sales and you're looking at how you can improve your online presence, we have a team for you there as well. And so we're primarily focused right now on what that recovery period looks like for business owners. So we're developing new programs to try and help people understand their business by the numbers, understand where their cash flow, where their revenue streams are coming from, whether they need to pivot, what does it look like as they look at what recovery means to them and their business. And so most importantly, we're here for you. We're your taxpayer dollars at work. We offer a no-cost business consultation service for you. So give us a call and see how we can help you.
Awesome. Thanks, Craig. And you also do that 3 p.m. webinar as well, right?
I do. So yeah, we set up, when the program started coming out from the SBA, people have to understand that, these programs were generally used for disaster areas or a space. It's the tornado in Tennessee that hits, and the SBA goes in from a disaster relief perspective and tries to help that community. Well, now we're talking, nationwide, and the SBA wasn't prepared to try and target everybody or try and help everybody. So they leaned on us as partners in this and the SBDC to be boots on the ground to help spread the word, to educate people and understand what's available to folks, how the SBA and the government and other agencies are there to help them. And so we developed this 3 p.m. Ask SBDC call that tried to articulate the message from the SBA, what programs are available to you. And it's focused primarily on the PPP program, The EIDLE program, which I think is going to be very important for folks when they're looking for access to capital come Q3, Q4, and then other programs that are available to small business owners through the SBA and state and local grants, programs, and everything that's available.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Craig, for doing that. Thanks for all the intros of everybody. I think now we have a firm understanding of what we're doing and the wonderful panel we have for us. So let's get to our next question. All right. So business in Huntington Beach would like to know what options they have as they continue to go through COVID-19, this difficult time. Natalie, could you give us some insight on that? Then I'd love to hear what Craig and Sandra has as well.
Yeah, I think a lot of our banks have already been providing significant support, pivoting and making sure that they can fulfill the many requests that are coming through for PPP funding. But I think our county supervisors, and Mayor Semeta alluded to this earlier in her opening remarks, have really come to the table as well, especially in Huntington Beach, where a supervisor still has been advocating for the $75 million CARES Act funding to be allocated directly to the cities so that they can decide how to distribute that to businesses in their region. The great thing about Orange County is local control has always been a significant part of what we do in terms of supporting our businesses. And cities know their businesses better than anybody in the county. So I think when the money is distributed to Huntington Beach, the first place that businesses should go to are chambers of commerces, and then definitely working directly with their cities, because there will be support for them moving forward.
Fantastic.
And Craig can probably expand on that.
Yeah, please, Craig.
Yeah, for us at the SBDC, it's really trying to help the business owners directly. It's working with them one-on-one. It's, in my opinion, it's getting back to basics. It's running businesses by the numbers. Yeah, we have to get back in and evaluate the business, understand what it looks like in the recovery. And access to capital is a big part of that. So PPP, EIDLE, state and local federal grants, whatever's available, we need to understand what they'll have access to, and then look at it from a cash flow perspective. And that's what we're trying to do. We really are one-on-one with the businesses directly, and trying to work through that process with them so we can show them there is a way to recover, that there is a map, in essence, that they can follow to try and work through this the post-COVID environment that we're all trying to understand exactly what it's going to look like.
Right. And Sheik, I think it's also important that they're aware of the guidelines that they must comply with to bring workers back to the workplace safely, and also make sure that they're posting the right documentation on their businesses that include that they've complied with all of the health guidelines that are now in place, which include masks, safe sanitation areas, and physical distancing that is 6 feet or more.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, HR is such a big component of all of this in the recovery period, and needs to be understood, especially, folks that receive PPP funding. It's okay to sit on that money for a week or two, or what it takes to make sure that your HR component is in place, that your employees understand what it means to come back to the workplace, that you provide a safe environment for your employees and your customers, and everybody understands what that looks like. I can't understate that enough, how important HR and that communication relationship is as we open our businesses back up.
Very good point. Very good point. Sandra, anything to add?
I think, from a bank standpoint, right, in this current situation, the biggest question that we've been getting asked is, are you still lending? And so for Union Bank, we are. So if a business owner or a business like yours is looking for additional financing, maybe you did get your PPP money or you did not, or you're waiting for other avenues, our recommendation is that you still reach out to your financial institution, see what they do have to offer, because we understand what you are going through. We understand that you are going to need some additional funds to carry your cash flow forward. So like I said, best thing to do is to speak with your bank representative, see what options that you have. And for us at Union Bank, we are still lending. So we haven't turned that off. We know how important that is right now.
Perfect. Well, thank you guys so much for that. Let's go into our next question, which is there SBA paycheck protection funds remaining in round 2? And is your bank still accepting applications? I think you already discussed that a little bit, Sandra, but could you go in more detail about what options we have?
Yeah, so as it stands right now, for us at Union Bank, we have not taken any more applications. There were, a lot of applications taken in wave 1, which kind of carried over into wave 2. So what I would say is this: we are hearing rumblings that there is still some money left out there. Banks are kind of figuring out how much is still available, which clients maybe had applications maybe slipped through the cracks, or they needed to get some additional information to assist clients who had already applied. So what I'm going to say to you is this: if you missed your opportunity to apply for the Paycheck Protection Program, stay close to your financial institution. There is a pretty high chance that they are going to start taking applications. I cannot speak for all of the other banks, and for us at Union Bank, it sounds like there could be something happening. We don't know when, we don't know how much, but just know that it will still be on a first come, first served basis. So as I said, stay in touch with your bank representative. You never know when each bank is going to do something. So when they are ready, you want them to be picking up the phone or sending you an email to let you know that, hey, they've opened up the application window again, so that you can get in and apply, whenever they're ready.
Perfect. So thank you, Sandra. So it's really important to everyone, make sure that you stay with them and find out, because as things unfold and things are ever changing, am I right, guys? Things are ever changing. We need to. Go ahead, Craig.
Yeah, there's what they're showing is about $100 billion left in the PPP fund. The phase 2 of PPP really opened up the number of lenders that were available to folks out there. I think at this point they're showing about 5,500 unique, lending or fintech type companies out there that were processing applications, 4.5 million applications, right? So what we're seeing is that, yes, even in phase 2 here, that there are opportunities for you to fill out a PPP application and get approval. And what's interesting is those folks that are kind of late to the party might be the beneficiaries of maybe some changes that come on board. Everybody's hearing what the House is talking about, and trying to pass new legislation that may change some of the guidelines on the PPP. But as of today, we need to work with what we have. The SBA has doubled down on the program as it's been presented. They released new guidelines just over the last couple of weeks. So now we have the forgiveness application. We have new guidelines that came out on Friday to better understand what it means, as far as the forgiveness, and then also the borrower and the lender's responsibility. So all those documents are available now on the SBA's website to try and help you better understand the PPP. But more importantly, there are still funds available for folks who would like to see how the PPP funds can be utilized to bring their employees back, to keep their employees engaged, and look at it from a recovery standpoint.
Perfect. And you're talking about the SBA's sba.gov.
Yes, please go. Yeah, I mean, they have some of them. Well, obviously, it's from their program. That's where I go every day and hit refresh to see if there's some new information and try and get a handle of what's going on, so I can go on my show at 3 o'clock and try and help folks as best I can with the most up-to-date, accurate information. It's coming from the SBA, and that's where we need to get our information. So as of today, the program is pretty much the way it came out. I know a lot of folks keep talking about, the possibility of what phase 3 might look like, or if there's going to make some changes. But when we're doing projections and looking at use of funds, we have to stick with what we know, and that's what's being published right now from the SBA.
Right. And what Craig mentioned about HR 710, which is the bill the House just passed, which extends the loan term from 8 weeks to 24. So that does give business owners a little more flexibility in terms of how quickly they need to use the funds. And it also will provide flexibility on how they spend it. So I think before it was 75% they're proposing for payroll. And now if it's passed by the Senate, it'll be 60% has to be used towards payroll. So that also provides a little more flexibility for business owners when it comes to PPP.
Yeah, I'm hopeful. I mean, these are the things that we've been talking about from the beginning. You know, the timeline's too short, the use of funds is too restrictive, and the loan term, if it does turn to a loan, is too short. It just crushes you cash flow wise. That first payment's due in December, and we know access to capital is going to be a challenge, you know, as we continue to progress through recovery. And so businesses need some flexibility in the PPP funds. I still believe in what its intent is as far as to bring employees back, and that should be the intent. But businesses, you know, restaurants and things, they need to be able to spend that money a little bit differently, especially if they didn't have access to EIDL funds. EIDL is I think, you know, a great option for folks. It's not on the agenda today, but as far as access to capital and truly used for your sales, general, and administrative type costs, those folks sitting in the queue for EIDL, I think it's going to be really important for them. And then for the banks, you know, hopefully all the banks are listening today, right? That as we get into Q3, Q4, you know, people are going to need help either to refinance or have other access to capital, you know, if we don't have additional funding from government agencies.
Right. And I think, you know, it's important too for the chambers to, and Huntington Beach Chamber is great because you're in front of all of these issues, and OCBC is doing the same, but definitely write to your senators and make sure that they have HR 710 on their radar, and that they're looking to support business during this time of economic recovery.
Well, that's wonderful news. Thank you for the update. I hope that passes, because you're going to give yourself from 60% to from 75 to 60%. That makes you feel a little bit better about that process, bringing people back. Well, that's wonderful. Let's go into another question. Now, how else is the bank helping small business during COVID-19? Sandra, would you like to take that one?
Yeah, so not only are banks helping through the PPP program, but banks are offering other relief options. So here at Union Bank, you can reach out if you have an existing credit facility with us to see if you are eligible for a deferral. And we are doing deferred payments on our existing small business loans for anywhere between 3 and 6 months, which can be a big relief to you as a business owner to know that we are pushing back your monthly payment on that existing credit facility. In addition to that, we're not just helping on the business side, but we have options to help you with your consumer obligations as well, such as deferring payments on your mortgages and you know, helping with your merchant services and your payroll needs. I know that our third-party vendors are pushing back fees and doing and assisting in other ways. So there are a lot of options to assist you depending on what it is that you're looking for. I just listed a few that Union Bank is doing. So please, as I stated before, you're going to want to reach out to your financial institution to see what options they have available for you. We're not the only ones doing it. I know that for a fact. And so I can't give you all the details around what other banks are doing, but what I can absolutely say is please reach out to your financial institution for that assistance.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Sandra. Really appreciate that. Message clear. Reach out to them. Make sure you're communicating. And it's a two-way street, right? If we want to get these applications through, if we want to get the process done, it's about active communication and making sure we're in alignment, right? Perfect. Thank you, Sandra.
And I would say too, to add on to what Sandra said, be patient with your financial institutions. They are, I have to say, it has been amazing to watch how they have been able to fulfill so many requests beyond what their normal day-to-day operations provide. So be, I think, patient with them, but also remember they're not the ones who are writing the forgiveness requirements. So that comes from SBA, and those are things they really don't have control over. So patience is key during this period.
Thanks, Natalie.
Thanks for that, Natalie.
Yeah. Yeah. You guys are under a lot. Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. I think, you know, they processed, what was it, $73 billion last year in 7A type loans for a year, right? And now they're, you know, over 500 billion in such a small time period. It's astonishing, truly.
Wow. Can you say that number one more time, Craig? I don't think we all heard that.
Yeah, I mean, last year, the SBA, you know, loans processed, it was 73 billion last year alone, you know, over 12 months on the 7A program. And here the banks have processed over at their 511 billion in what, a month and a half time frame. And so that's what was asked of the banks to try and figure out, you know, in such a short time period. So I know it can be frustrating, the process, but you have to understand that the SBA is dealing with not only the folks who are truly legitimate small businesses looking for assistance, but the fraud out there. And, you know, so I mean, if anybody knows what's happening out there, you know, and has information, you know, let the SBA know. I mean, it's, I sat on the fraud webinar last week from the SBA, and you know, unfortunately, anytime there's a government program like this, it brings out some of the worst in people, unfortunately. And so be patient with the banks, understand the process, and let's hope that you get the funding that you need.
Thank you. Thanks, especially about the fraud mentioning that you mentioned that. I don't think a lot of people know about that. So that was really helpful. Thank you.
No, it really opened my eyes, you know, to look at crime syndicates, you know, theft of EIN numbers and everything else that goes along with this. The sheer volume of applications that were being processed, it just unfortunately opens up that opportunity for some unscrupulous individuals. And so, you know, the banks are trying to fund the legitimate ones as quickly as they can, but they also have to weed out, you know, some of the false applications and make sure they don't get access to the capital.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Craig. Appreciate that. Thank you, panelists, for all your insight. That was a really informative information. I love that question. So let's get into another question. So if I got a PPP loan approved by my bank, what are the forgiveness guidelines? Because the SBA seems to revise these a lot. Understatement, right? I'm going to direct this to Mike. Actually, not Mike. I'm sorry, Craig. Can you answer that question for us?
Yeah, it's, you know, it's one of those unfortunate things that happen when you write something in about 5 to 7 days or so, right? That they put this program together. Again, it's unbelievable how quickly they're able to put this together and then push it to the banks for them to figure it out. Well, in so doing, in the beginning, they didn't write exactly what the forgiveness was going to look like or how we were supposed to approach it. There was information about how you calculated your loan amount, but the forgiveness side was kind of pushed until they could spend more time to figure it out. So just recently, you know, as of 5/15, they finally published the 11-page document that kind of outlines that process for forgiveness. That being said, it's still going to go through who's ever servicing your PPP loan. So most likely the bank that you originally applied with. But the document just came out, you know, a week and a half ago. And so since then, it was radio silence for a while from the SBA. It was about a week of everybody just kind of looking through this 11-page document, trying to understand it. I sat in with CPAs and we're all trying to interpret every if, then, and the, because it really is. Even now, today, it is still subject to interpretation, exactly what that application means. The Association of CPAs had put out a forgiveness calculator. I think they did a really good job. There's other calculators out there that you can find. You know, all that being said, though, it is still the basics of the original act as far as 8 weeks from funding to spend it, 75-25 as far as the split, 75 going to payroll, 25% to rent, utilities, and other interest. And the intent, again, to bring employees back is its primary function. None of that's changed. It's just exactly when the checks have to be written, exactly what does it mean by cash and non-cash compensation, right? So those little things we're still trying to understand. You're going to need to work with your lender and try and better understand it. Work with your CPA. Hopefully you have a good relationship because they're going to be busy trying to figure this out as well. All we can say, you know, from an SBDC standpoint and a business consultant standpoint is document, right? Make sure you have, if you're running through payroll, your 941 statements. Make sure you have the bank statements. On our side, what we recommend is that you segregate the money, put it in a separate bank account, again, so that it's just cleaner. It doesn't say anywhere that you have to do that, you know, but we're just looking at it from a forgiveness standpoint and saying, what's the best way for me to try and prove or support my numbers, because it's on me, the borrower. Okay, so everything was very clear in the note that you signed. It's on you, the borrower, to then ultimately substantiate your numbers for forgiveness. The way that it's written right now, it's 6 years. You're going to need to keep those documents for 6 years. Okay, so it's there's some accounting that has to happen. So it's not as straightforward as we would hope. I hope they clarify it here, you know, over the next couple of weeks, that they simplify it. If I had a wish, it would be that it was just simplified. But these are the rules and guidelines that we have and what we accepted when we took the PPP loan. And there's documentation and there's help for you out there, you know, organizations like ours, the bank, that can help you kind of work through that process and get yourself ready to apply for forgiveness, because that's coming. For some folks, they're about, you know, 6-7 weeks into their loan already. So we know within the next week and a half, 2 weeks, you know, folks maybe start looking at what does it mean for forgiveness.
Right, and that's going back to what you said about SBA.gov. All that information is going to be.
All that information's on the SBA.gov website. They have a dedicated PPP page that lists out, you know, all new guidelines, calculators, FAQs. They have fairly extensive FAQs, but it's still, a lot of it's legalese. A lot of it is, you know, for most of us just to read through it. And it's subject to interpretation. So unfortunately, the way that it's written right now, I think a lot of folks are just going to need some help to work through it and make sure that they've spent the money correctly, to maximize the forgiveness component. So there's some work ahead of us for sure.
Natalie, your thoughts?
I agree with what Craig said. And I think Sandra actually described it really good a couple of days ago. And she said it reads like a tax form. So I definitely think work with your CPA, definitely leverage services that you might be able to get through your chamber or even the SBDC. But Sandra probably can expand on this better than I.
Sandra?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the forgiveness application, it's going to look similar to the PPP application. You're going to get a couple pages of actual, what I call application, and then the remaining 9 are like the instructions. So as I said a couple days ago when we were all chatting together, it does read like a tax return. You're going to see some spots where it says, you know, add lines 1 through 5, and in this situation, divide by 2, and the next situation, you're going to multiply by 7. And so it can get confusing. It can be a lot to work through. But what my recommendation would be is this. You heard it from Craig. It's and Natalie. Things are still changing, right? So between now and when you actually need to submit the forgiveness application, we could go through a couple iterations of this form. We don't know. Nobody has a crystal ball to say this is the final form. And we saw that with the original PPP application. I think we went through like 4 or 5 versions of it before we settled on the one that was the one that the majority used. So what I would say is this. When you first look at that forgiveness application, don't have your pen and paperwork ready to just fill it out the first time you go through. The best advice that I could give is read through that full 11-page document first, walk away, eat something, spend some time with the kids, you can do some laundry, whatever the case may be, have some coffee, right? And then come back to it and then work through it again. It will help if you read through everything once and then try to fill out that application, because it's not going to get so confusing. You've had a little bit of time to digest the information. And if you do have questions after you've read through everything, like Craig said, reach out to your CPA. Come to us at your financial institution. I will be very honest though, right now, if you go into your bank and you say, hey, can you help me with the forgiveness application? You are probably going to get, we don't have any advice to give you yet. We're still trying to figure it out. So please, as you know, Natalie said before, be patient with us. We are still learning it. We are still trying to figure it out. And we do ultimately want to give you the best advice. So what I'm going to say to you openly and honestly, as it stands today, is take your time reading it. It is 11 pages, unfortunately, but what you actually have to fill out is really only like 1.5 with some initials and a signature. So it's really not that bad when you sit down and actually do it.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Sandra.
I'll add to that a little bit. You know, the larger payroll companies, and I'd say most payroll companies at this point have done a really good job to step up and create their COVID task force teams and offer reports and a lot of support. So, you know, hopefully you have some access to some, whether it's your payroll company or not. I would start there as well, because they're going to help you with trying to calculate headcount, looking at your past payroll reports, because there's all these different periods you can choose from to kind of fit your business. So a lot of folks are leaning on the payroll companies, and so far I think they've done a pretty good job to step up and support their customers as well.
That's fantastic. So I'm hearing 11 pages documentation. Bring some coffee or something, or a stress ball, and less signatures. It's not as daunting as it needs, but most importantly, you have the support. You've got your bank, financial institution, you have SBDC that can help you, you have your payroll company that can assist you, you have your accountant. You definitely want to make them your friend in this process, right? Because they're tax forgiveness. And then you have like OCBC, you have the chamber, you have the city, so much support. So let you guys know you're not alone, obviously. That's why this call is to inform you. So fantastic. I love that. Actually, since we're talking about loans and different opportunities, I got one for you, Craig. Are there any microloans available for small businesses?
Yeah, I mean, there's more and more coming out. It's, I don't know, I'm hoping that my director, Mike Daniel, will be on here shortly and stuff, and he can go into depth about, you know, all the different options that are out there. But I know, you know, from the state of California, we have iBank and then a lot of different, you know, the new 15 million, right, that we spoke about, that's coming available. So that's not as much as my wheelhouse as it is Mike. I was hoping he'd be on so he can just, because it's amazing how many communities and counties and cities and the state of California, how everybody's trying to step up and that have money available, you know, whether again, microloans or even grants that are happening a lot from, you know, cities that's making these available to small businesses. And I don't know how best that information is going to get out there. It really, you know, look at the city and start to inquire, you know, what's going to be available or what type of applications to fill out to look for additional funding. Because I think it's going to be important as part of that recovery plan. But I don't have anything specific to mention. Let's hope Mike gets on here. You'll get him going and stuff, because he's really excited about it. He's excited about, you know, everybody that's stepping up and all the calls that he's been getting to try and help facilitate some of the money and stuff. It's really nice to see, and I'm excited to be part of that and try and help, you know, get the small business owners access to that capital as well.
Perfect. Well, thanks, Craig. Anyone else have any information about microloans they want to discuss? No? Cool. We're gonna put it on. We're gonna put it on to Mike when he gets there.
Yeah, he is. I know. Gotta find him.
Awesome. All right. So another really great question is, what if employees don't want to return? Let's say, what if employees don't want to return, but we got the PPP loan? What do we do as an employer then? I'll pass that on to any one of you who'd like to start.
I can start with that. So employees, are required to come back if you have a position for them if they're on unemployment. But I would say I'm not an employment attorney, but many of my employment attorney friends have said, you know, be very flexible with your workforce. However, from a business standpoint, I would say just make sure you have all of the right guidelines in place to bring your employees back so there's no real objection to them coming. All the safeguards that need to be in place, make sure you have the physical distancing, you have the necessary tools that they need to conduct their job in the most effective way. But for the most part, an employee does jeopardize losing their unemployment benefits if they refuse to come back to work when the environment is safe enough for them to do so. So that does pose an issue for them. Although the incentives are pretty lucrative right now from what we hear, this is an issue that many small businesses are facing where their employees are making more on unemployment. It doesn't, you know, pencil out for them to come back. But in the long run, these benefits will run out. and it'll be better for them to come back to work. So that's what at this point, I would say, just make sure as a business you have the guidelines in place and you're implementing them in your workplace. OCBC actually put a really good web page together that provides guidelines for every industry, because they are different. They're different for the restaurant industry versus a Forest Services office that you might go to. And you can find those guidelines at ocbc.org. We have all state guidelines listed as well as the county guidelines, and the local municipalities might have something that's even more stringent. So I would definitely advise people to go to that website and take a look at some of those guidelines. And the chamber has guidelines for them to view as well for Huntington Beach specifically.
Wonderful. Thank you, Natalie. Craig?
Sure. Yeah. Talk to your employees. It's going to be really important to have that conversation and really understand where they're coming from. You know, is it fear-based? Is it they caring for a sick family member? You know, what are their kids still at home and they're still trying to figure out how to manage the kids? Like it's a stress on a lot of us, you know, that have families and trying to understand it. It's not always just monetary. But if it is, you know, it's nice to know that. From a PPP perspective, it's all about documenting the process, because there's some opportunities there that if you make a bona fide written employment offer, right, an offer for employment, and it's denied or declined or whatever, you know, verbiage they want to use, you could use that then through the process of applying, when you're applying for forgiveness on your PPP loan, to try and have that as part of your headcount. So, because an important component of the PPP is this full-time equivalency of your staff, of your headcount, of your employees. And so we're trying to get our headcount back to pre-COVID times. It can be a real challenge for a lot of industries. So one way to try and address this is that as you're making these written offers for employment, if they're being rejected, to make sure you have that documented so that then you could use that to present as part of your support documents for forgiveness, and hopefully have that count as one of your head counts, right? So maybe it counts as a 1 towards your head count so that you're not penalized and have some of the forgiveness that's not available to you on the PPP loan. Understand that the PPP, there is an opportunity to issue bonuses, incentivize your employees, okay? So look at your loan amount and understand it's right now, it's an 8-week window that you need to spend the money. And so for a lot of us that we're doing projections or looking at use of funds for the PPP, there's an opportunity to incentivize. That you can write short-term contracts to bring people back. And if they stay through the 8 weeks, whether you bonus them or there's some way that we can do it. If there's an opportunity to allow them to work fewer than 10 hours so that they would still have an opportunity to collect unemployment. Right? So that there's ways that you can utilize the PPP funds, stay in compliance, maximize your forgiveness, allow your employees to work a few hours. And the narrative is, hey, I want you to come back. I want you to be engaged with the team. I want you to be part of this process as we, try and recover the business. I want you to be at the meetings. Okay. I'm not asking you to work 40 hours right now. Come back for 10 hours this week and stuff, just so that they stay engaged and they're part of that process. I think it's going to be really important, as we kind of navigate all this together. Let's do what we can. And so, it's definitely a challenge over the next, through the end of July when the Fed side of the $600 finally expires. But there's ways, have that communication, document, incentivize if you can.
And definitely, I think you nailed it when you said flexibility. I have 2 kids and summer camps are canceled, right? So there's really nowhere for you to send your children for them to be safe and cared for. And many of these positions that small businesses have are not the type of positions where you can work remotely. So I definitely think open communication, but then also from a business protection standpoint, work with your attorneys and your HR departments just to make sure that you have all of your bases covered as you're entering this next phase and you're communicating with your employees, because you might be doing the right thing, but you also want to make sure that you're protecting your business as well.
Perfect. Thank you. And I love the creative ideas that you guys came up with specifically about different hours. I hope business communities are listening because that's really a different way to approach it. Sandra, I'd love to hear your feedback.
Yeah, I mean, I really couldn't have said it any better than Craig and Natalie. So I think they really summed it up in that aspect.
Awesome. Great. All right. Perfect. So let's go on to if Congress approves a third round of PPP funding and the president signs it, what advice would you give for all the types of business on ways to most likely ensure that they can work with a bank? What are your tips for small businesses? Now let's actually direct that one to Sandra.
Okay, so I think obviously banks had a lot of learnings from all of the applications that they took. So one of the big things that I would say is if you haven't already completed the application and it's not just sitting, on your desk waiting to be submitted, take the time to do so, but take the time to do so accurately and correctly. What we did find, which caused a lot of problems in all of the funding that we've already done, was information that was input incorrectly into the application. So, for example, a misspelling of your business name or writing in your tax ID number or your social security number incorrectly, putting in the wrong amount of employees, stating that you had an idle loan when you didn't. All of those had factors when it came to play with regards to the banks being able to push through your PPP application. The biggest one, what I will tell you is the social security number or your business tax ID. If you get that incorrect on your application, and when your bank goes to try to submit that to SBA, the bank may get the response that, hey, the business is only allotted one PPP loan. And you're looking at your bank like, I don't have one. What are you talking about? And it's because of misinformation provided on the application. So the most important thing that I can tell you is make sure that the information you have on that application is correct. Secondly, would be to make sure you do have your supporting documentation ready to go. So what most banks are looking for are those 940 or 941 forms, which have to do with your payroll tax filings to the IRS. If you don't have that information, we can look at W-3s. If you're a sole proprietorship and you don't have, 940s or 941s, then yeah, you're gonna have to get together your last 12 months of bank statements or your Schedule C for your tax return. Now, I know because the IRS has extended the tax filing guidelines for 2019, many sole props are saying, hey, I don't have that yet. Well, what the bank is asking for is not your filed 2019, just your completed Schedule C. So you may need to work with your CPA or your accountant to just complete the Schedule C portion of your 2019 tax return, but you don't have to file. So those would be my biggest and best tips for you all. If you haven't gotten your PPP funding, you're hoping for a round 3, get all of that information together. So once that happens, you'll be ready to go.
Perfect point. And you definitely wanted to use you suggest not handwriting those, right? Entering them on a computer. So if anybody has bad handwriting like myself, you want to type that stuff, right?
Yeah, I mean, make it legible, but also, I mean, we've seen where, you typed it up and there was some fat fingering, right? You transposed 2 digits and that's really unfortunate. So just make sure that you review it, it's accurate, and before you get it submitted.
Perfect. Those are wonderful tips. Thank you so much, Sandra, for that. Now, I want to ask everybody here, is Orange County currently in stage 2? Could you briefly go over what that entails and what can we anticipate if we do move to a stage 3?
So as of May 23rd, the state of California accepted and approved Orange County's plan for entering into stage 2, so yes, Orange County is officially in stage 2. And I'm going to read off some of the requirements because OCBC does have this specifically on their website, but it did allow for certain businesses to reopen with safeguards in place. That included in dining for restaurants. It also included manufacturing, professional offices where telework is not possible. There's also retail was able to open. I think everybody heard the great news that you can actually go get your hair done now. So, I mean, that was, I think, the most exciting part for most people. That has entered. So we are officially in stage 2. And we've heard the governor say that stage 3 is not far behind, and that would include theme parks and other large type events. But some of the things that are required is that you have to teach your employees how to perform a health and safety check to make sure that they don't have any of the potential symptoms for COVID-19. So that would include temperature check, and many businesses that we are seeing are either using an app or a checklist that just allows their employees to understand if you have a fever of 100.4 or higher and a cough, this is probably not, you should not come to work. Some of the other things that they've implemented are disinfecting protocols, physical distancing, which allows offices to maintain that space between people, which we've mentioned before. Craig, did you want to add anything to that?
If I could, I'd like to go back to that previous question a little bit, and then we can get into that as well. If we're looking at a round 3 in PPP, or even folks that are in the queue for PPP or idle funds, what's most important to me and what I'd like to address is your plan more than anything. I want to understand what your business is looking like, which I know it's hard. There's a lot of uncertainty when we're trying to look, even 3 months from now, what does my business look like? It's interesting, from a planning perspective, how we're trying to plan this out, 3 months, 6 months from now. But I think it's really important to go through that process to understand your business. This is, it's debt capital that's going on your books. Sure, there's a forgiveness component, but you have to go through that process. And so I want people to understand that taking on these programs or looking at it, please take a moment to understand your business. What is bringing in this access to capital to your business? What does it look like from a cash flow perspective? And what does your business look like? PPP is 8 weeks, right? And that's it, the way it currently stands. And so we need to understand our business beyond that. And so that's where I think going through that exercise, sitting down with your team and truly reaching out to other organizations out there to try and assess your business, understand your business, and understand capital is just a piece of the recovery plan that needs to be in place for your business.
Perfect. Thank you, Craig. All right, perfect. So I think we're ready for some Q&A. What do you guys think? Let's go ahead and go into here and take a look at some questions that we have. And I'll leave this kind of open. Whoever wants to answer the question, please fill in and piggyback as fit. So first question, are there still limits per employee salaries now that time has been extended?
Well, so time has not been extended. So I know it's a real challenge. Everybody's getting really excited, that there may be some changes that are possible. But at this point, we're still doing our math based on what we know, based on the application, based on the documents the SBA published just last week, just on Friday, Saturday last week. So the upper limit on cash compensation is $15,385. Okay, that's $100,000 annualized for an 8-week time period. Okay, that does not include possible non-cash compensation. So you have to take a look at health insurance or other retirement benefits that may be eligible for forgiveness. So just remember the $15,385 for now on the cash compensation. And I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful some changes will come down the road. I just don't know who they're going to apply to. Because like I said, some folks are 6.5 weeks into this thing and they're going to be looking to apply for forgiveness very soon. So go with what we know for now.
Yeah, and I'll add on to that. So we are hopeful, to say the least. It has been passed by the House, the extension to 24 weeks. So if the Senate passes it, then that'll be a definite good thing for businesses. And that's really what we're hoping for, because the 8-week period is just too short. And I think most people see that now, especially with the forgiveness documents, not as easy to navigate as the application process. for the PPP loan. So, the situation is very fluid. So I would just say, stay focused on the changes, stay in contact with your Chamber of Commerce, because they will have up-to-date information on what you need. And OCBC is also a resource for any up-to-date information. We've actually produced a newsletter daily, just keeping business aware of the changes that are going on.
Yeah, there's nothing that says it can't be spent, later. So I know a lot of folks who are just sitting on the funds. There's nothing that says it has to be straight line as far as payments. There's nothing. So a lot of folks are kind of wait and see. Restaurants, there's a lot of restaurants who aren't going to open until July 1st. They're just not ready from an HR perspective. And so they're going to sit on the funds for 6 weeks and then look at how to spend it for those 2 weeks, hoping that we see an extension so that then they can utilize the funds for a longer time period. So there's nothing that says you have to spend it right away. That's been our recommendation from the beginning, is that you may just sit on it, understand it, and let's be hopeful that we see some changes.
Yeah. And this phase 2, I think, is where, now that you can start bringing employees back and getting your operations scaled up from, the disruption, that's probably when most businesses will need it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those things where being late to the party might actually work out for your benefit. So everybody was clamoring for phase 1, give me the money, but we weren't ready for the money. Businesses truly were not ready for the money when that first round. Banks weren't ready. Everybody was just not ready for it. But I know it was a need. It was a definite need. But so let's see where it goes.
That ever-changing, ever-evolving, just keep on the go and keep looking for resources.
Right? It's a brand new program. Never been done before. So it's some of this wait to be seen. We are very anxious to see those first applications for forgiveness.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, team, for that. Let's go on to our next question. Are federal, state, and local contractors able to be reimbursed under PPP?
Craig, you might know. I think right now I don't know all the details on that, but I think a lot of the limitations have been to specific business types. So, 501c6s cannot apply for PPP loans, but a 501c3 could. So I don't know, depending on your business status. It's not an individual, right? An individual can apply for something, but if it's a business entity, Craig, you can and Sandra can probably expand more on that.
Sandra, any thoughts? I'm not quite sure of the question or what they're asking.
Yeah, so they're asking federal, state, and local contractors, are they able to be reimbursed under the?
So no, you can't reimburse 1099 contractors. That's what it sounds like the question is. So no, it's either owner draw distribution, which is interesting right now. Sandra has some thoughts on that, and how business owners can pay themselves. That's still unclear. But otherwise it's through payroll. There's not right now an ability to use PPP funds for contractors.
Sandra.
Yeah, Natalie and Craig said it best. The PPP program was for small businesses and not for individual contractors. So hopefully we're understanding this question correctly. And if not, please post your question again. But as it stands, we wouldn't be able to reimburse under that.
All right, well, thank you for that question. And here's the next one. There are several accounting templates available for forgiveness. Perhaps if those can be available to small business, larger businesses, or more sophisticated will be fine. Thoughts?
The American Institute of CPAs published a calculator. It's free to download. I think it's aicpa.gov. I'll have to verify that URL, but they have a forgiveness calculator that they've been working through, and they're putting out a new version every day, so you can see it's still subject to interpretation at this point. But I've been using that one. I know a lot of CPA groups are using that one that's being published by the American Institute of CPAs. That's free to use. You sit with the application, like say, your cup of coffee or whatever, and you just start working through different scenarios and seeing where it comes out.
Perfect. Thanks, Greg. Now, is it headcount or offers to furloughed employees only? New employees count? Awesome. Sandra, go ahead and answer that one for us.
Yeah, new employees do count. So it could be that someone has opted to not return, right? Maybe they really enjoy being a stay-at-home parent, or they really enjoy homeschooling now and they're not looking to return, and that's okay. It doesn't mean that you can't hire somebody new to your company to take their spot. So yes, new employees do count.
Awesome. Great. That's good to know.
You know, where I've seen a lot of companies be successful in their PPP funds is looking at their current revenue streams and how they can pivot their company, and all of a sudden they're creating new divisions in their company and hiring new people, or they're reaching out to their team and finding new skill sets that they didn't even know their team had, right? It's astonishing. Oh, I have a film degree. Oh my gosh, I need someone to do social media and to help me with this. Wow, that's fantastic. I'm going to pay you a different way, right, than maybe what you used to be. So yeah, that's what's kind of exciting about the PPP. It's an opportunity for you to reevaluate your business and quite possibly add a whole new division, right? That's where I've seen a lot of companies be successful with PPP, and you know, they're quite honestly looking forward to this recovery period because they want to introduce new products, new divisions, new everything that they're doing with their company. So yes.
Oh, wonderful question. That was great. So new employees. Yeah, yeehaw. All right. Now, next question is getting a PPP loan going to impact a small business ability to refinance properties, credit scores, or future funding?
I guess I'll take that one, guys. So for this, what we need to understand is we're kind of in this interim period, right? You may have received your PPP loan, but we have not hit the forgiveness stage yet. So you're sitting on this money. You may or may not have used it, and it may or may not be forgiven. So best case scenario, it's forgiven. You don't have any future monthly payments, and that's kind of it with this PPP loan. Worst case scenario is you have this PPP money and it is not forgiven, and as it currently stands, turns into a 2-year loan at 1%. Well, that amount of money, that loan is a loan. You are responsible for paying it, and that, to Craig's point earlier, is going to be a hit to your company's cash flow. So yes, it could potentially have impact on you and your business to have further financing in the future, depending on what happens with the forgiveness piece. And it also depends on how much of a loan you have remaining to turn into that 2-year structure and what those monthly payments look like. So maybe everything but, I don't know, $300 is forgiven and that monthly payment is really, really small. That probably is not going to have much bearing on your future ability to borrow. But if you have a $200,000 PPP loan and none of it is forgiven, that is going to be a very, very large monthly payment that we are going to have to service in terms of debt when we look at any future lending. So yes, it will have some, yes, it may have some impact depending on your individual situation.
Right, great feedback. Yeah, thank you for mentioning that loan amount being so heavy, because I don't think a lot of people think about that. So thank you.
Yeah, no, and a lot of people right now, as it is, 2 years, 1%, but it's deferred for 6 months. So that first payment, it's really only 18 payments, right? And that first payment is coming due for a lot of folks in December. And unfortunately, a common misconception is that even though there's no personal guarantee or no collateral, default does not equate to forgiveness. You know, on these, they are SBA-backed loans, and it is, you know, it's going to follow you. So you need to treat it as such.
Great, thank you guys. Let's move on to our next question. We got a few more here. I'd love to get through all of them. So Rana asked for SBDC. That's you, Natalie. No, that's not you. That's like you, Craig.
Yeah,
actually.
which one?
On this, I'm sure too. What is the best way for businesses to get in touch with SBDC? And do you have any upcoming Zoominars? Ooh, I like that. Zoominars.
Zoominars, that's new.
What business should look for, and what would be helpful?
I mean, right now we're doing our 3 p.m. call to just try and get out the latest information, talk through. We do a Q&A section as well. We will be doing a SBDC recovery plan as well. So businesses will be able to join as a group, and we'll be doing some webinars. We just completed one with the Irvine company. So that was an opportunity for us to work with a landlord. From a landlord perspective, they asked for us to come in and speak with their tenants and to try and help them understand the recovery process and period. So yes, I'll have to put some information up. The OCIE, I think there's my URL might be on my backdrop there from our marketing team. But that's usually the best way to email us. Our location, we do have 8 centers, but you can contact us and we'll get you in touch with a business consultant first. They'll talk to you for a little bit, get a better assessment of your business, and then if there's other webinars or programming that we have available to you, we'll get you into that as well, so that we can help you plan.
Just to let you guys know, it is a 3 p.m. call, and it's the daily ask, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. I love that title. And Natalie, do you guys have anything that you're also doing? I know you mentioned that you have, I love that you have the different categories from OCBC. So that was really great that I heard that you have that for different businesses. Is there anything else going on that you guys have coming up?
Yeah, we have been hosting since the stay-at-home order was in place. We have continued all of our committee meetings, which are usually open to members only, but we've expanded it to any businesses who just need to stay up to date with what's going on. I'll direct you to our website, ocbc.org, but we have economic development committee meetings, which feature various speakers. We've had members of the U.S. Chamber there. We've had several elected officials come in to give updates, and members of our banks who come in and just give top line information that's really useful for business. I would also direct you to our guidelines page, because I know that the guidelines can be very confusing and daunting for some businesses who are not used to operating with some of these, the necessary safeguards that have been put into place, such as, mask wearing for everybody who's on site, and also the other things that need to be complied with in order for employees to come back. So I would direct you to our committees. Infrastructure is huge for OCBC as well. In order for us to continue operating at a county level, Orange County has always been very innovative and always above the curve when it comes to infrastructure. Some of the things that we're really focused on right now on the infrastructure side is technology infrastructure. The stay-at-home order really showed us that it's a necessary element of all of our counties and our municipalities that we work with our infrastructure technology companies to make sure that we have 5G in place and the necessary tools that they need. So those committees I would highly recommend people attend. They are all virtual, and we do market them when they come up. But if you'd like to be added to our newsletter or to our list of email recipients, please send me an email.
Perfect. Thank you. And to just let you know, Craig did send in the chat that link, so you guys can actually have that. It's under the chat. So thank you for that, Craig. All right, let's go into the next question. Now, this is from Teresa. She says, we are a dance studio here in HB, have been here since 1968. Wow, great job, Teresa. We are finding it difficult to find opening guidelines. They have confusion about wearing masks during class, and we get the social distancing and cleaning requirements. But down to about 30% occupancy makes it impossible to make expenses. What phase do we fall into, and where can I find guidelines? I think we kind of answered that a little bit, but I'd love to hear more about that. What guidelines could I think OCBC has that website that you can go onto that has those different features, so that might be a good option.
We do have that on our website, and I believe that health gyms, healthcare, dance studios might fall under phase 3. But I would definitely urge you to go to our website, and we do have links that directly take you to the state's website as well. And then also work with your municipalities. Mayor Semeta might be able to provide some more detail on Huntington Beach specifically.
Right. I was going to mention that, if I could, that we have our HB Ready website and also the HB Open website. So look at both of those, because we definitely refer to the state and county guidelines and try to gel all that down for our businesses right here in town, what specifically applies to you. So that should be a great resource for our businesses here in town.
HB Ready is an amazing website. I've gone in it tons of times, and the chamber utilizes that as well. Fantastic. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
Great. All right. So I hope that answers your question, but hopefully we'll get that going. Now, the next question is, many companies don't have HR or legal teams. Where should they turn for assistance and guidance? We know SBDC and OCBC are providing great information, but any additional recommendations of where to get specific to your business?
Anyone? This is a tough one. You know, at the SBDC, we don't do legal, don't do tax, you know, so we have to be very careful about how we approach it. We're coming from a business consultation standpoint. So for us, you know, we have to lean on some partners. They're out there. A lot of folks are, again, utilizing their payroll company to try and understand some of the HR components. There's national companies like BBSI that's out there. We've partnered with them they've sat in on some of our webinars to try and help our clients better understand the HR, and they've been willing to at least field some calls. I'm not sure how they're monetizing from there, you know, if they're trying to, you know, put people into services, but it is. I don't know enough, you know, whether Huntington Beach or other cities, entities, you know, have that ability to field those kind of calls to answer some of those questions, because there are a lot of big ones. So whether it's EDD, going on their website and trying to understand the latest in compliance and posters and all of that they need. But to me, that, you know, it may be an area where folks could use some additional assistance.
Yeah, and I would say definitely work with your chambers, because they oftentimes, OCBC has done this. We have many law firms who are members of OCBC, and oftentimes we can host a webinar where they're providing updates on anything that might impact your business related to COVID-19. With the emergency order in place by the governor, there's more flexibilities that have been put into place that impact business in not always a positive way. So a lot of our law firms have been able to provide advice to many of our members. So I would definitely stay in tune for some of those. We do have an economic development forum coming up, and we will have an attorney talking about workman's comp. So that's an issue that'll be facing business as we move into this new COVID-19 phase 2 and 3, where businesses could be held responsible, you know, in some cases, or, you know, COVID-19 workforce related issues. So I would definitely lean on many of your Chamber of Commerce, your OCBC, and just get some clarification when we have speakers who are speaking specifically on these legal issues.
Fantastic. Thank you.
I was just going to add to that, Sheik, that perhaps this could be a subject of one of our future webinars that we're, you know, planning to put on for our virtual town halls, because it's certainly an important subject. So
oh yeah, I wrote that down too. I don't know if you see it on.
What was that?
I was writing that down actually. Right.
Perfect. Okay.
And I mean, many law firms have already started webinars, so I think you can definitely get somebody to come on and provide some direction.
Great, thank you.
Right.
Yeah, there's a real need, no doubt.
Absolutely. We got one more question, so I want to do this before we wrap up. Now, this is a good one. Are there limits on bonuses per employee? Given comments about innovative ideas, does it have to follow company HR guidelines for bonuses, or can we bonus out of the ordinary?
So, yeah, there's nothing in the PPP that said except for that upper limit. So that 15,385, you look at $100,000 that's annualized over the 8-week period. That being said, from an HR perspective, you do have to be careful with bonuses, whether you do it across the board or you're looking at, you know, why you're issuing bonuses to certain you know, employees and maybe not others, or what. Because there could be an HR repercussion there, if not just employee sentiment, you know, within the company. So our approach to that is really looking at it as an opportunity to bonus, you know, all of our employees in some way, and look at it how we can do that strategically with the PPP funds, because there is nothing that states that we can't utilize the PPP funds for that bonus or incentivizing in some way. But from an HR perspective, you do have to be a little bit careful.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. Well, we're coming due on time. We got a few minutes here, but I know I would love if you guys can give us some final thoughts or some final feedback from each one of you. Sandra, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, so I think from me and from, a banking standpoint, I think, I just want to reiterate, we are here to help and provide guidance. So whatever questions you may have, big or small, please utilize your financial institutions for assistance. As I said before, we've got a lot of other avenues to help during this trying time, and we know everyone's situation is different. So please don't be scared. Please don't feel like, your question is too small to be answered, because we are trying to do our best to assist you, put you at ease, and get you through, and everyone through this situation in this time. So please utilize us as a resource. We're happy to help and provide you with any advice or knowledge that we can, or help direct you to others that may be able to assist you if we can.
Perfect. Thank you, Sandra. Craig?
Yeah, I think it's, for me, looking at it from the numbers perspective, but I also try and look at it as an opportunity to evaluate my business, to maybe take a little pause and look at it differently. As an entrepreneur, there was something that made you successful before. A lot of you are coming off very strong 2019s, Q1s that were off the charts, right? There was things that you were doing really well, and you need to remember that. You need to go back to that point and understand that you were successful. And yes, maybe times are going to be different. Some things are going to change about your business, but try and embrace the challenge that way. Understand that your infrastructure is in place. You have people surrounding you that are supporting you, everything that maybe you didn't have when you first started your business, right? We think about a lot of entrepreneurs and they started out of their garage or just with an idea. And so I try and challenge my clients that way and just get them excited about this process. I know it's a challenge, right? There's a lot of uncertainty, but I got to start there. I got to start there with a little bit of optimism. And I try and show them how successful they were before and try and get them excited about their business again, and take this opportunity to do that and know that they have support around them. I mean, I'm so, excited for all the organizations that are out there, all the folks that are stepping up to try and help the small business community. So take advantage of it. You're not alone, not by a mile, so utilize those resources and let's get through this recovery together.
Thank you, Craig. And last but definitely not least, Natalie.
Thank you. I would say stay focused, positive, and have a plan. Remember where you live. We're in Orange County. We are a resilient county. We are full of innovation. And I have to say the way that business pivoted during this disruption, has been amazing to watch. I personally reside in Anaheim and fully supported all of the small businesses that stayed open. Mm-hmm. And I think that they need to remember that there are a community of people who want to see them succeed, because business is the fabric of our county. And I think small businesses make up 95% of the businesses in Orange County. So it is our objective mission, and even from big business down, to see them all succeed. So I would say stay positive, increase your network, utilize your network, and make sure that you pivot and just embrace the opportunity, like Craig said, but definitely remember where you live.
Well, thank you guys all for being here. We really appreciate it. This was our first town hall. And Mayor Semeta, would you like to close this out?
I would love to give some closing remarks. First, I just want to thank all the panelists, and especially with your closing remarks there, for the hopefulness that there is. And to, like Craig said, to remember where we're at in the first quarter, how things were going before all this hit us. And so remember that, remember your networks, look to those networks like Natalie was saying, utilize all that. And there was so much great information given today about resources that are available. The 3 o'clock show that Craig puts on every day sounds like great information coming out of that. Natalie talked about the OCBC website, the different meetings, Economic Development Committee meetings, webinars I think you're putting on as well. So all those resources are there for our businesses, and I urge you to go ahead and utilize those. And also, like Sandra talked about, be in really close contact with your individual financial institutions, whoever you're working with, your CPAs, they've got the information. Just learned about some great tools today too, like Craig talked about the calculator from the CPAs. That's going to be really helpful for people, because I think the word that has just characterized this COVID situation more than anything else for me is fluidity. I mean, everything is changing all the time. So You just have to stay on top of it, what the new guidelines are that are coming out. Like I said, hbready.com. We're trying to keep everybody abreast of all the changes as quickly and as best that we can. I think we've done a good job. I have to compliment our public information team and our staff on that. So great resources out there. I do want to just, again, thank all our partners today and our panelists for being part of this. We're really excited for the future webinars. We're going to announce those on our HB Ready website. So again, keep looking at that. Also, if you want to contact somebody here at the city that's in charge of kind of keeping on top of that, that would be Robert Ramirez, and his email is robert.ramirez@surfcity-hb.org. So you can get in touch with him. And again, I just want to continue to make economic development at City Hall a real focus. We're going to be laser focused on this because it's so important coming up this next year. And don't hesitate to contact me directly. My email is lynn.semeta@surfcity-hb.org. So again, I invite your questions and want to refer you to resources where I can as well. So again, thank you to everyone that joined us today from the business community. We want you to be successful. We are here for you at the city. And Sheik, great. I don't know why I did that. Great facilitation today with all of those questions. Did you want to have some closing remarks yourself?
I just want to say from the standpoint of the chamber and looking at all these wonderful people that are here today, for you to know as a business owner, you're not alone. I think that sentiment came through beautifully, and everyone mentioned that. You have resources. We're here to help you. We put this together for you. So you guys would have that opportunity. And remember, this is our first one. We're really excited. I agree with Lynn. Really excited to have opportunities to give you this type of content and to answer questions that you have. So thank you. Thank you, everyone, for doing that. And,
thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of the week.
Thank you, Mayor Semeta. Thank you. Take care, all. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.